Hey guys, Luke and Michael here from Channel 9 News, and today we're going to be showing you 6 or 5 building facts. So actually first of all, say hi Michael/Steve.
Hello.
So Michael is a veteran Terraria player who's played almost 3 hours of Terraria. And Almost. And as a nooblet, he's going to be discussing starter home ideas with us, even though he hasn't played that much. He's kind of our guinea pig. So I've been building a bunch of starter homes as like kind of a video series. I think there's like 19 or maybe 13 or 14, 19 or 14 here. I think 14. And I've got a little bit of insight to share with you guys. For the most part, these videos have been like showcasing off design tips or showcasing off builds, but not design tips. So this is going to be opposite, and it's going to be showcasing design tips that I've learned in my time here. What do you think of that, Mike?
Sounds pretty fresh.
Sounds like a fucking fresh ABC. Alright, let's get down to business with design tip number 1. Alright, so we're here with fucking... I probably shouldn't swear. Alrighty, so Mike and I are here with Frank, who lives in his loser home. And oh my gosh, it's a blizzard. It's a sandstorm. And we're going to discuss our first tip, which is don't use rectangles. Now that's not saying don't use rectangles for like singular rooms. It's saying don't use rectangles for entirety of houses. So you can see this is kind of like three and a half separate rectangles, which are all irregularly shaped. So and the reason you do this is because one rectangle kind of creates a boring looking house. So this is a house which has one rectangle with a triangle on top, and like it's a cool looking house, but it's a bit boring because of that. You can see it's just one big old fat rectangle with a triangle on top, and that's not what you want. You want a cool looking house. So this one here has a rectangle, but on top of that rectangle there's like half of a rectangle with a roof shaped house. This one you can see rectangle with another rectangle and like a lower skinny rectangle. Going over here, this one has 2 rectangles, but because the house the roof comes out a bit, it's a bit more interesting, and because there's a few more details that come outside the sides, it's a bit different. And then there's this one here which has larger rectangle, then smaller rectangle, and then smallest rectangle at the bottom. So the first tip is, do not build one large shape. You got to use a lot of composite shapes or compound shapes. Tip number 1.
Don't build commission houses.
Don't build commission flats. Correct. Alrighty guys, we are up to our second tip, and that tip is a doozy. It's a big one. It's use block variation. Like, please don't just build with one block. So don't build the whole thing out of wood walls and wood background. Like, don't build the whole thing out of grey bricks and grey background. It's almost always gonna look ugly, if not boring. It's really great to use maybe 3, 2, or even 4 background types of walls. So here we got mudstone brick, wood, grey bricks, and at the sides here we have, and at the bottom we have what's it called? Underground or tiled? I don't know what's named, but you know what it is. This one we have a similar mix of bricks. Because it is starter, we had to use a similar mix of bricks for all of them. This one has marble. But it is really important to use more than one type of wall. Otherwise it will certainly look ugly or boring. So this one here kind of differentiates the other room, or the separate rooms, into separate things by using grey bricks as like a separating wall. Do you have anything to add, Michael?
Not really. It's a good point. It just makes your house look less boring.
I agreed. I don't know what I did with the platforms here, but that's
what's the button to open doors?
Right click. That's tip number 2. Alright guys, new tip number 3 is bloody, you got a hammer? Use it. You can get the hammer as one of the first objects in the game. Just 7 wood, I believe it costs. And as you can see, this house, this design here is absolutely slathered in examples of good hammer use. So you can see that the ground here uses, I don't know why I'm clicking with that. Let's use no, that's also bad. That's also terrible. You can see the ground here uses different hammered bricks to make this triangle pattern, which I think looks really cool. So there's just 4 there, then you hammer them all different amounts to get this really cool like zigzag pattern. And I've done something like this at almost every part in this build. I think that wasn't how it looked. Okay, no, it looked like that was just a full one. And then at the top here you can see these have been hammered down to half slabs, same as over there. At the top there's half slabs intermittently in 2 tiers. And then on the side, so you can see as window sills, we've used what are these called? Half slabs as well. If you go over to this build, it's got a lot of similar examples. There's some corners on the ground. And over here, this is a really great example of one. It has a bunch of differently hammered angles. And again, it just makes it more interesting and just a little bit pretty to look at. Alright, that's tip number 3. Alrighty guys, tip number 4. I screw up the system, or the counting, but we're back on track. This one's the most like, do this one. And 95% of the time, it's really a thing you should do. And a lot of builds, what they do is they have dirt, and then they have wood, and then under that there's just dirt, or like whatever the natural thing there is. If you can replace whatever's under this wood, or whatever's under the first tier, with another level of bricks, it really makes your house look like a more in the environment and less just stuck on. So every single build here, I believe, has done this, where there's not just the floor and then dirt, there's the floor, and then there's at least one layer of stuff under it. We'll go back to the center, because you've seen these ones quite a few times for examples. Yeah, you can see here, there's one extra tier of wood under it. Same here, even though this one goes underground, the what's it called? The opposite of an attic. The basement is 2 blocks thick. It's a thick boy. It's a thick building.
Oh, yeah. Damn. Damn, boy. Damn, boy, he's thick. Boy, that's a thick-ass boy. Damn.
Continues on here. Yeah, it's going to be in every build that I do. Starter and non-starter. Apart from this one. See, this looks like stuck there. This one isn't done yet. Don't discontinue that. Even the ones in the desert, I think. Yeah, they did the exact same thing, where you have two tiers of blocks. Alright, that's tip number 4. Hey guys, so my friend's Italian mum just left the room, so there should be no talking in the background. That sounds like angry yelling. So we're good.
I would say that's racist, but it's not.
It's very correct. So contradictory to what the two... it's not really contradictory, but... So what I'm going to say is... It's a bit controversial, but I strongly disagree with symmetrical or repeated building designs. So these 2 builds here that you can see on the screen are kind of symmetrical, or they have repeated rooms, except it's done in a way that isn't too bad. So the bad way is you have completely symmetrical... Shut the hell up. You have completely symmetrical builds, and you have completely repeated room designs, and it looks boring. It halves or even like quarters the amount of design space in which you can do interesting stuff. So in this one, you got like a little homely fancy room. It kind of looks like a barkeep, and in this one, it's kind of more of a bedroom, or like less of a living area. And then in Max's big build here, which is less of a starter home, but it stays true in everything. You have different things on each four of the corners. And even moving along here, this one is probably the worst offender of it, because there isn't enough to do something different. That's a bad example. I'm going to move out of there. But I think repeated builds, they sometimes have like a place. They sometimes do interesting stuff, but more often than not, especially in smaller builds, it just halves the amount of interesting stuff you can do in a smaller build. If nothing else, even if you design a symmetrical build, I strongly recommend having different decorations or different designed rooms for each of the rooms. Alright guys, for the last tip, for tip number 6, we have, don't be afraid to put decorations or even like utensils, crafting stations on platforms, because it gives you a lot more space to build stuff. You can build rooms higher instead of longer. It fills out the rooms a lot more instead of having like vast amounts of empty space. And is that I thought that was a golden bunny. I got really excited, and it just looks a lot nicer. So in this build, we've got an example of Italian mum back in the room. No, we have an example of a barrel on a platform, a chest on a platform. We have a bunch of like pretty differentiated stuff here on platforms, and it just fills out the room and looks pretty nice. Same here, same with every other build here. I think I did count, and that was 14. So that's pretty much everything. Michael, what have you learned today in your little teaching lesson?
I muted myself because my mom's Italian.
Did you hear what I asked?
No. I learned how to open doors, that's right.
Oh, you learn how to open doors. Excellent. That's really the main takeaway from this. Right click to open doors and 6 starter home tips. Alright guys, thanks for listening and watching Download Man 1 plus Michael. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and Michael's not getting paid for this, so like say thanks Michael in the chat. See ya!